talking with Woody Allen. We were sort of segueing into the subject of what is it? 15 years?
No, 13 years.
13 years in classical Freudian psychoanalysis.
Yes, 8 years I was on a couch, and 5 years I was allowed to sit up and face him and chat, and it helped me, I think. I don't know.
How do you know, really? That's what it's always the big question mark for me is, when do you decide, I'm done?
Ah, that's a good point. I don't know if you're ever really done. I know that certain characteristics about me are different now than they were when I started analysis. I started when I was 22, and I'm 35. So I have aged. That's something.
That is progress, because
yes,
it's upward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can, when I have sexual relations with someone, I can now think of that person.
Rather than
somebody else, which is an enormous step forward to me.
How many years did that take? Where did that come in, roughly?
That just came in last week.
Can you give any pointers to that thing people always want the answer to, is how do you decide who's the right analyst for you? Did you dismiss or interview any and then reject them? You know
not me, because I always have blind faith in doctors. You know what I mean? They could do anything they want to me, and I wouldn't know the difference. If a guy's a doctor, I go in, and whatever he says is okay with me. You know, I have no expertise, medical expertise at all. So, whatever they say is fine, and I always accept the first of anything. Of course, that's true in all walks with me. When I go to buy a jacket,
sure.
I buy the first sport jacket, the first automobile, the first, I don't have the patience or the curiosity to find out anything.
And you figure the guy knows what he's talking about, even though it isn't necessarily true.
Yes, until he was arrested.
Yes.
Then I began to suspect something.
Did you have you had two analysts? Didn't you switch in midstream or something?
I switched after 8 years. I had one for 8 years, and I just used to lay there and talk, and nothing really happened except, that was it.
So how do you decide to switch then? Isn't it dangerous to switch in mid?
Why not switch?
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
There's another way of looking at it.
If nothing's happening, I had nothing to lose by switching. So I switched, and now nothing's happening over 5 years.
But at least it's a different person.
Yes.
Would you ever let a woman psychoanalyze you?
I would, but I think I'd feel shy to tell her
Yeah.
the real innermost workings of my erotic desires.
And how do you then? Because that's part of what you have to do in psychoanalysis, and there are women psychoanalysts.
Right. I don't know if I could do it. I don't think I could be checked by a woman MD in general. If I had to be examined for a regular physical by a woman, I don't think I could do it because I'm ticklish.
Do you ever have a fantasy that the psychoanalyst will wig out himself and send a typed transcript of everything you've ever said to 50 or 100 newspapers and prominent people around the world before they catch him? Or not?
No, I never think that. I think that they're not interested in me. That's what I always think. When I'm there talking about my problems and such, I always think that the doctor is listening to me, but not really caring. He's thinking about when he can get out on his sailboat and how fast the session's going to be over, and do I know a lot of good girls because I'm in show business? Can I get him one? That kind of thing. But no, I don't feel that there's any sense of real interest in my problems.
Can you talk about that with him and not offend him?
No, I try not to give him any accurate information about myself.
Do you have a fantasy life going? Do you still fantasize?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be important for a psychoanalyst.
I do. I exist, I would say, more happily in my fantasy life than I do in the real world. Because I can imagine anything I want in fantasy, and, and it's a pleasure.
That we have a clip from your film which involves a fantasy, actually, doesn't it? I think, in fact, it's very
from
appropriate
Bananas,
right
yes.
Here from Bananas.
Right.
Yeah. What should we know about this before we see it?
That's just me on my analyst's couch in Bananas, just chatting with her.
Okay.
You don't have to know anything.
Let's take a look at that.